It is an indeed great pleasure and privilege for me to be amidst all of you to deliberate on the very relevant and contextual topic of delivering better governance. I would like to recall that while inaugurating CBI's Golden Jubilee celebrations, Honorable President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, delivered the 14th D.P. Kohli Annual Memorial Lecture on Good Governance, Empowering Institutions, Society and Public. Several eminent speakers have covered various aspects of good governance in the past 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, from Plato to Chanakya, every political thinker has delved deep into the topic of governance. Aristotle was perhaps the first political theorist to deal with the term governance, while classifying the political organization by indicating the manner in which they were ruled by a kind of numerical count of rule by one, dictatorship, a few, autocracy, and by many, democracy. The idea of good governance was very much prevalent in ancient India. The Shanti Parva of Mahabharata dealt with good governance in great detail. The qualities of an able and ideal king and imperatives of good governance were succinctly described by Kautilya in his magnum opus, Arthashastra. Our founding fathers had clear ideas regarding what good governance means. Mahatma Gandhi defined good governance in his own inimitable, simple way. He said, I quote, "Do the policies help the poorest and weakest man? If yes, that is good governance," unquote. Endorsing the same idea, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, Mahatma, by his stress on the underprivileged and poverty-stricken, forced all of us to think in terms of social justice, unquote. In his epoch-making Tryst with Destiny speech, Pandit Nehru set the agenda for the nascent nation as the ending of poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality at opportunities. The Constituent Assembly deliberated and debated the concept of good governance at great length and depth. Good governance means democratic polity, rule of law, equality of opportunity, independent judiciary, human rights, equitable justice, transparency, absence of graft and accountability. All these values and lofty ideals have been enshrined in our Constitution, which is held as a social document. Our founding fathers were concerned about the possibility of the conflict of interest that competitive politics might bring in, and we are also aware of the corruption of the country's representative institutions. To address such contingencies and to allay such fears, the Constitution set up a series of autonomous bodies which would be free from the pulls and pressures of competitive politics. In a parliamentary democracy, the greatest challenge to good governance is to bridge the gap between the expectations of the people and the effectiveness of the delivery mechanisms. Effective governance requires effective institutions, and the effectiveness of the institution, be it the legislature, the executive, or the judiciary, depends on its delivery mechanisms and the framework of supportive rules, regulations, and procedures, which need to continuously evolve in response to changing times and emerging situations. In spite of several hiccups and aberrations, India continues to be a vibrant democracy. Just remaining a democracy is not an end in itself. Democracy has to move beyond periodic elections and ensure constructive participation of its citizens to ensure good governance. The Panchayati Raj institutions are still taking shape to ensure democracy at the grassroots and rise above caste and communal affiliations. Slowly yet significantly, the civil society is asserting its right to participate in the making and implementation of the policy. This churning, I am sure, will lead us to participative governance, which ensures inclusive growth and effective service delivery. If only we constantly renew and defend the democratic values that define our nationhood, we will be able to face the great challenge that lies before us. The rule of law is at the core of democracy. The citizen's right to life, liberty, and dignity can be secure in a democracy only through rule of law. Hence, the Indian Constitution emphasizes equality before law and created an independent judiciary to ensure the supremacy of rule of law. These checks and balances incorporated by the Constitution will guard the citizen against the arbitrariness in the actions of the executive. The independence of the judiciary is one of the cornerstones of our Constitution. Everything necessary needs to be done to preserve and protect the independence of our judiciary. But this needs to be done while maintaining the delicate balance of power between the organs of the states as enshrined in the Constitution. It is important that each organ of the government operate within its own sphere and none takes over functions assigned to the other. In these rapidly changing times of globalization and liberalization, no government can afford to stick to rigid structures and reactive modes of governance. There has been considerable rethinking in the way the governments conduct their business. Right to Information Act is able to bring much needed transparency in the way elected governments are functioning. The laws related to public service delivery and accountability, which are yet to get the legislative stamp of approval, would bring paradigm shift in the way public services are delivered by the government, especially local and state level. The deterioration in values is cause of concern. Corruption is eating into vitals of the society. It is an imperative necessity to emphasize the need for probity in public life. It is easier said than done. The watchdog organization CBC and the investigating agencies like CBI have a key role to play here. The fear of the law and its deterrence power needs to be reiterated. The nation awaits the Lokpal with a lot of expectations and hopes. There is no gainsaying that these institutions need to maintain their image of probity and impartiality at all times, at all costs.